For those who are watching don't know this, Yolanda and I tried this a year ago, and we had bad reception. So I've got on my laptop somewhere half of our initial interview, and then we had to cut out. We're like, okay, we'll continue it tomorrow. And so it's been a year. So
yeah, because then I think I ended up getting like super sick.
Yeah. And we were just, I'm like, yeah, remember? Sorry, that was, I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
But yeah, there was a lot of, or something, this would happen, that'll happen. It's just one of those things. And so a year later, we're like, 2021, we're knuckling this down straight away. So here it is. We've made it. So today, I'm with the fabulous Yolanda Olson. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fabulous as always. What time is it over there? It's 9 a.m. here.
It's a little past 6 p.m. on Sunday.
What's it like living in Bridgeport, Connecticut?
So honestly, this is the biggest city in the state. It's the most dangerous city in the state, but it's home and I love it. Yeah. A fun fact about Bridgeport is we made like the top of the list one year for the top 10 most dangerous cities in America.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
But I love it. It's home, you know? It's like you get used to certain things. So like
what makes it so dangerous? Okay, so for me, say if I was coming over for the first time, what are the 3 top safety tips you would offer me?
don't go to the bus station by yourself.
Okay.
There's a place called Washington Park on the east side. You don't drive by that at night or during the daytime. Don't go outside after a certain time.
So are we're talking about like drugs, Stabby Joe?
All of it.
Oh, exciting.
There's at least 1 murder per day here that you'll read about in the news.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, home sweet home.
Yeah. But like I said, it's home, so I love it. You know, I've been here the exception of like 3 years when I lived in Illinois. I've lived here for damn near 40 years. So yeah, I love it here.
That's good. I'm just like so petrified.
You just took Bridgeport off your list of visiting.
Other than not going there, let's get into the book world. So what was it like for you when you had the inspiration to write 21 Years of Jane? What gave you the inspiration to even write your first book and publish it?
Okay, so I actually wrote that book. On the inside, it's dedicated to my grandmother. She actually passed away shortly before I wrote that book. So my great grandmother died from renal failure. So I just wrote the story to kind of cope with it. Like I didn't give the main character renal failure, but I gave her like a debilitating disease. And I kind of just like poured my grief into that book. So that's how that happened.
Wow. And so what gave you the courage? Did you write it more so obviously for the intent for yourself? What made you decide, actually, maybe I should publish this? Let's see what happens.
Because my grandmother lived in Puerto Rico with one of my aunts, and I had contacted my aunt and I was like, listen, if I write this book, if I make it into an actual book, will you put one by her grave? And she said yes.
Oh.
So that's why I did it.
That's beautiful. So how did you go? Because I know you went straight from that, which is a very sentimental, beautiful message. And then you went straight into a little bit darker, a little bit dangerous, a little bit, red light. It was red light.
Red Light Ladies.
Yeah, Red Light Ladies. How did you go to that?
Because like, for me, 21 Years of Jane was a one-off. Because like I said, I was just putting my grief into that. And then I was like, I wonder if people would let me start playing a little bit darker. And they did. So then I was like, well, I wonder if I can go a little darker now. Well, I don't know if you've read me lately, but I'm like an abysmal pit of darkness these days.
No. So how did you go in regards to like when it came to readership? Did you find as soon as you started publishing, you basically started accumulating the snowball effect quite quickly? Or was there a bit of a delay until you had that readership for your, I'm going to say niche, audience because you write Taboo, so obviously that's not something for everyone, and I do want to talk about that more later. But how did you find at the start of your career? How was the snowball effect or the journey for you initially?
Well, like I said, 21 years at Jane, I wrote for my grandma. And then I just like when I would start writing like darker and darker, it would be for one of my sisters. I'd be like, "Hey, do you like this?" She'd be like, "Yeah, I'd like it." So I'd be like, "Okay, I'll write you another one." So it was her that helped me start like promoting on Facebook because I had no idea. I still don't know what I'm doing, but I had no idea what I was really doing then. And I was like, "I don't know how to do this." And she's like, "We'll figure it out." So like between me and her, and then a couple of readers started noticing and they were like, "Can I help you?" And I'm like, "Please do." And then like we just kept going, and that's how that happened.
Far out. So what year
Like
did
literally it was like all of the readers just came together and helped me.
That's amazing. 2018, The Lies Between Us, you won a Reader's Favorite Award, which is a massive feat because a lot of people enter those and you get reviews and that's fabulous. But to actually win it for a category is amazing. I want to know how you even received that award. Like, was there anything like huge and special, monumental around that? And did you like notice an increase of readers after that, or was it kind of, yay, I got it, and then nothing really happened afterwards until you were releasing more and more books?
So it's actually kind of funny. I forgot that I had actually submitted The Lies Between Us for because I did it at the beginning of the year, and they don't do their awards until September, I think it is. So I forgot about it. So one day I woke up and I saw I had this email as a reader's favorite. I'm like, what are they emailing me for? And I opened it and I had this freak out moment at like 3:00 in the morning. I'm like, oh my God, it won a gold medal. Holy shit. Like, who would have thought? So I told my sister because she's like my biggest cheerleader. So I told my sister, we're all freaking out or whatever. And then, yeah, that was it. I had my freak out and yay.
Did you get a physical medal or something like that?
Yeah, I have 2 medals from them and they're hanging over there.
Yay, what was your second one for?
Last year I won for LGBTQ fiction for Baron, my freak book. It won a silver medal.
That's amazing. Congratulations. Yeah. That's great. Okay, let's talk about some more of your accomplishments because you have achieved a great deal. You are also a USA bestseller, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What book was that for you, and how, again, what was the experience around that? What was the momentum like?
So what ended up happening was Alex Grayson was putting together a charity anthology, and I was like, I love doing charity anthologies because that gives me the opportunity to help someone without them really knowing that I help them. You know what I mean? Because it's a bunch of people. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I signed up for it and I wrote my first story and I messaged her. I was like, listen, this story is really dark. I don't know if it'll work for this. It was called Take Me to Bed. It was supposed to be sweet romance, stories. And we all know me. So I'm like, all right. So she was like, so what's it about? So I told her, she was like, no. I was like, all right, hold on. I have another idea. So what I ended up doing was I wrote a little follow-up to The Lies Between Us because that was the only other thing I could think of. So I was like, is this okay? And she's like, yeah, that's fine. So we just like promoted it and pushed it. It was for, I believe it was for to stop human trafficking. International Hearts, I believe it was called. International Network of Hearts. So yeah, we just pushed it and like that, honestly, I wasn't even expecting that. That's not what I was there for. Like, I just wanted to help, So like when somebody posted it in the author group, I was like, what happened? Like, I wasn't even here for that. I just wanted to help. So that's how I am. When things happen, I'm like, huh?
So I'm curious, because you also work as well, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. What
full
do you
time.
mind if I ask what you do full time?
I am an appeals resolution analyst so basically health insurance.
Yeah.
If like a claim denies or it pays a different way, or if a provider or member feels that it should have paid one way or another, they write an appeal letter and I'm one of the people that gets it and I have to go through everything to see what I can do.
Amazing. So how do you, because you release a lot of books every year, you write a lot every year.
Mm-hmm.
How does your work-life balance work? Like, what is your routine?
So I stop working at 3:30 in the afternoon, and then what I'll do is I'll go upstairs, take my shower, have dinner, and maybe about an hour later, I'll just turn on my laptop and go until I'm ready to go to sleep. So I
Just
get like 4 hours in every night.
wow, that's amazing. What's your usual, out of curiosity, what's your usual word count in that 4 hours?
Um, on one whip or how many whips? Because I usually have 3 or 4 different whips open, and I'm just, yeah, yeah.
How do you go with, okay, so how do you, oh, I'm so curious now. Okay, into Yolanda's mind, here we go, down the rabbit hole. Okay, how do you manage doing multiple works in progress? Do you ever get, I guess if you got 3 and 4, you're obviously used to it, but I know some people can get distracted by characters and cross references. So do you like have different files for each book, or do you just write? Are you a plotter, or are you just a writer? What do
No,
you
I can't plot anything. I tried plotting something one time and I got massive anxiety. So I was like, no, we're just gonna sit down and see what happens. So no, like for instance, today I had 3 files open. One was for the series I'm working on, one is for the new Freak series that's coming out, and the other one was like just this random story I'm working on. And once I had enough of like the series, I would either go to the Freaks or I would go to the other one. And it's just easy for me to switch characters.
I want to talk about the subjects that you write about because, as we know, they're very taboo. So, as you were saying before, you originally were just saying, how far can I push this? How far can I push this? What, I guess, what is the inspiration for your, I want to say for the push to, or is there any time when you're writing stuff and you're like, is this too much? Has that ever, I don't know, it's an interesting element.
So, all right, the first like actual like super taboo book I ever wrote was Inferno. I did not expect so many people to be like pre-ordering it and getting into it. And, like I had people tagging me from like all over the world when it went live that they were so excited, and I'm like, oh no, what have I done? You know, because I knew what was in there. So I wrote Inferno, honest to God, because I was so sick and tired of seeing those daddy books, like the Daddy Dom books. I am like, you know what? I'm gonna write a daddy and no one's ever gonna like me again. And that backfired. But that's why I wrote Inferno. Um, I had dabbled a little bit in taboo before that, but I never went full on, this is the subject matter of this book, you know? And so far as have I ever written anything and I'm like, that's too much? If I feel like it's too much, it goes in the book.
Oh, I love that. So
Yeah.
would you say, I guess, in your writing, it kind of is almost trying to push for that shock factor, but because your readers already know what to expect from you, it's not, I guess, as shocking for them?
No, I don't think when I write it's for shock value. Like when I write something, it's because it's supposed to go in the story. Like, for example, my readers may know what to expect, but I think I like almost killed everybody with Nefarious. Because I did some things in that book that when I was done, I was like, I need to like bleach my brain from what I just did. So even like if you were to read that, you would read it and you'd be like, okay, this had to, if you can finish it and it's a short story. And people would be like, this was for shock value, but it's not. It's the way her mind worked.
Okay.
The way she did everything fit with her story.
So do you do any research when it comes to characters now? Because obviously, I want to say your dialogue and the way your characters work will be not mainstream, I want to say, because obviously,
Yeah, I'd never be mainstream.
would you do research into that, or do you have like just a very strong connection with your characters? They're just like, here I am, this is my story, go.
Yeah, literally, it's here I am, this is my story.
Amazing.
And I just go. I just, whatever. I was actually talking to a blogger this morning, and we were talking about like the lengths of my books, because I don't go by word count. I go by how long it takes me to tell a story. So for example, my book Atonement is 18,000 words, but The Lies Between Us is 75,000 words. So I literally listen to the characters until they're done. And they're like, this is how it goes, and I'm just here to do it for them, you know?
That's amazing. I love that you're not going through any like formula or cookie cutter or anything like that. You're just
Mm-mm.
telling your stories and it's working for you because you are so successful in what you do. Obviously, all of your books have disclaimers on them, very bold disclaimers to say this may not be for everyone, but have you still had readers that were daring to like go into your worlds and then come back and sort of be like, this wasn't what I was expecting, or
Mm-hmm.
how do you
Yeah,
deal with that?
I'll be honest with you. I stopped putting disclaimers on my books when one of my author friends said that my name is the warning. So, like at this point, if you pick up one of my books and you haven't read me before, but people are telling you be careful, just be careful.
Yeah.
My favorite thing one time was I got a 2-star review on one of my horror books because there was horror in the horror book. So I get fun little things like that. Like I get downrated because the books are horrific, even though if you look at the subgenres and the genres, they're in horror. My favorite thing, honestly, was one time, and I'm going to keep this nameless, but one time I had somebody read The Lies Between Us. They won I think they won an ARC, and they read The Lies Between Us and destroyed it because of the character relationship between the two main characters. But then they read a book by a bigger name author that basically did the same thing and absolutely praised it. So I was like, how does that work? You know what I mean? Like, you loved that relationship, which was like almost the mirror copy of my relationship in my book, but mine was garbage. Why? Because I did it.
Which is
So yeah, those are fun little things I deal with.
and was that at the start of your career, or was this
The Lies Between Us came out in 2018, I believe.
okay?
So I just learned to brush this stuff off now. And when people get like leave, because I love reviews, good or bad, I always want honesty. But when I read reviews that are like, oh my God, this was too much, I get the biggest smile on my face. And I'm like, hey, I want to slide into your DMs and be like, hey, you want to read this one? I'll send it to you.
You love it. I just know you'll love it. What has been because you're quite active in the author community, well, author and reader community. Everywhere I look, you are there, which is awesome. And even pre-COVID, should I say, event signings. It's actually funny because before we had this interview, I had forgotten, well, not forgotten, but you know, like when the events are so much happening, there is a photo of you and I, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, I'm like, so much happens at those events. What has been your favorite reader experiences?
Like in person or online or both?
Both.
I think one that caught me off guard one time was I was doing some grocery shopping by myself. And I was in my pajamas because I go out in my pajamas. And somebody stopped me and was like, oh my God, you're Yolanda Olson. And all I could think was, and I'm in my pajamas. I was so embarrassed. I was like, that I literally word vomited, I'm in my pajamas.
Really?
And she was so sweet about it though. She was like, oh my God, I don't care. It is you, isn't it? And I'm like, you look nice today. You know, like I was trying to like, I was so awkward because I'm terrible when people like talk to me in person. I just get so awkward. And I was just talking to her about how nice she looked. And she was like, oh, I just went to church. I was like, oh, so what'd you praise? You know, what was going on? It was terrible and awkward. But she was the sweetest, yeah. So that has to be one of my favorites because literally I'm in my pajamas, you know? So and she didn't run, so it was great.
That's so fun. That's quirky though. You'd be like, yeah, that's fun. She must be going straight to a Batcave after this shopping to write. Like, there's no time to change. She's just on it.
Yeah.
What would you say, I guess, for aspiring writers or for those who have been in their career for a while now writing, what would you say your 3 top tips would be to them to go to the next level?
Okay, my first and foremost that I tell anybody that asks me is write whatever you want to write. Because your story has to be your own. Don't worry about following somebody else because their story is doing amazing. Do your own thing. You know what I mean? Because that's how you'll end up standing out. And your readers will love you for that. My other favorite thing that I love to tell people is if you think it's too messed up to go into the story, put it into the story. Because if nobody else will read it, I sure will, because I want to see what you did. And then the other thing I tell people, because this is something that I've experienced over and over again, is that for every 1 bad review you get, you're going to get 5 good reviews. So honestly, for every one person that doesn't like what you did, you're going to have 5 more people that are going to be like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
So
So what would you then say for yourself? What has been your biggest obstacle in your writing career, and what has been your greatest accomplishment so far?
my biggest obstacle is honestly, I suck at this author thing, man. Like, I don't market anything, you know what I mean? Like, I write the book and I let it out into the world and then I move on to the next one. So like, that's something that I need to work on. So that's another thing, learn to market, because I don't know how to do that. So I don't know, I think the accomplishment that made me smile the most was when I got my first gold medal for Reader's Favorite. Because I showed it to my parents because I was like so excited and they were so proud, you know, and they didn't know what it was, but they were so proud because I had a gold medal. So I was like, this is great. Yeah.
That's amazing. I want to say too, it's interesting how you said that one of your greatest obstacles is the marketing aspect, because one, you are very well known within the industry, but also I find that you have a very organic reach as well, because you interact a lot, like especially with your intimate group of readers, you are honestly all the time interacting. So I guess I'm a little bit surprised that you don't market, but at the same time, I'm not surprised at how effective that is too, as well, because you have such a genuine connection with your readers constantly. And I think a lot of people sometimes forget about that. They think about all the Facebook ads or this and that, how they can outreach, but they forget about how close-knit you can be with the readers that have been with you all along. So I think that's amazing how you're always on there, you're always interacting and making it really, I don't know, just a close-knit family.
Well, you know, it makes me sad because, like, to this day, I'll get emails or messages to my page or DMs to my profile, and I respond to everything. Even if it's like a hate message, I'm going to respond because you sent me a message, you took the time, I'll respond, I'll be nice. And almost every single time I get, thank you for responding. I wasn't expecting that.
Oh,
It's like, you're a human being. You sent me a message. I am not a robot. I can reply.
yeah.
You know, so it's like, it makes me feel bad that maybe they sent a message to like one of their favorite authors and they never got a response. You know what I mean? So then they sent a message to me and they were like, she's probably not even going to respond. And I'm fast with my responses. So it's like, hey, how you doing?
What has been your favorite book to write so far, and why?
Ooh, I got to think now. My favorite book to write so far, probably Inferno.
Yeah.
Probably Inferno, because like I said earlier, I was just so over every time I refreshed my feed, it was daddy this and daddy that. And I was like, okay, let's do daddy then. But I took that to a whole nother level.
So tell me a little bit about Inferno. I haven't read it personally. So what is Inferno about? The look.
So Inferno is about this man named Luke Green and his 3 children. And they live in this like massive house on his property, and there's a well. And when the children are disobedient, they go into the well until he feels like seeing them again. Additionally, he basically rapes his children.
Wow.
Because he needs to keep the bloodline pure, so he reproduces with them.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, you definitely like exploited the daddy concept.
Yeah.
Like,
and the crazy thing is, like, readers loved it so much. It was supposed to be a one-off. It's a 4-book series, and there's 2 worlds based around Inferno now.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So are all your books more psychological, or do you do the fantasy paranormal elements as well in some books?
Strangers and Wrong Side of Heaven are paranormal. And then I have my pen name Lainey, where I do like my paranormal and my fantasy stuff. But under me, yeah, it's basically just Strangers and Wrong Side of Heaven.
Why did you decide to have a pen name for the other ones?
Because I wanted to keep the horrors, and it's so strange because a lot of horror books are paranormal, like subgenres, but I write realistic horror. Like, I want you to read one of my books and be like, oh my God, it could be that guy right there.
Mm.
You know what I mean? But you can't do that if it's like a ghost. So that's why I decided to split them. And plus, I was supposed to be in this anthology, but I ended up pulling out at the last minute because, and this is going to sound so shitty, but I ended up loving my story so much that I didn't want to give it to the anthology. So I was like, I'm going to release this myself. And then I was like, I'm just going to keep everything under that name that's paranormal. And that's how that happened.
That's amazing. And do you do the same thing? So obviously I'm assuming a lot of your readers are aware that your pen name is like an off branch of or do you brand them completely differently?
I brand them completely differently, but the thing is, like, my pen name for my paranormal is so similar to Yolanda Olson, like it's Lainey Olson. So it's, and I have actually had my readers message me on my page saying, "Are you Yolanda Olson?" I'm like, "Yeah, hi." It's like, "How you doing?" And it shocks them because they're used to like the realistic horror.
Yeah.
But it's like, so I wrote this little crazy story over here under this name.
I'm curious, if you weren't doing what you were doing now, what else do you think you would be doing?
Reading.
Do you find time? Do you read a fair bit yourself?
I don't have time. Like, I have author friends that'll be like, "Can you read this arc and give me an editorial?" And I'm like, I will make time for that because nobody has to get. This is something that I like to sing every now and then, is nobody is entitled to arcs. No one. No one. And if an author is going out of their way to be like, "Yolanda, would you read this?" and give me your feedback, or can I get a byline or something, then I will make time to do that. But other than that, I don't really get to read that much. Like sometimes I'll be laying in bed staring at my Kindle app on my phone and I'm like, and I'll just open one of my books and read it just so I can read something.
I want to talk about too, your covers are absolutely stunning. And so I did notice that you use numerous different cover artists, and I was wondering if there was a particular reason, or was it more so a photo grabs your attention, or should I say a cover grabs your attention, you're like, that's perfect, I have inspiration, I'm going to write a book for that.
So for example, for Death Blooms, I used Opium House for that one. And I was already like super into the story and I'm writing it and I have an idea of where it's going. And I'm like, I need a cover that will like do this story justice. And I refreshed my feed one day and I saw that Sarah posted that and I just swooped in and I was like, thanks, mine. So that's usually how I do it. Like for pre-made, sometimes I'll see a cover and I'm like, that works perfect for this. Or there are, like the current designer that I use now primarily for customs is Pretty and In Creations, because she could nail what I want, like literally on the first try. I'll be like, this is my idea. She'll send me something and I'm like, bam, done. But for pre-mades, I love like grabbing different ones here and there because then it gives me a chance to promote that cover designer when I do my cover reveals. And a lot of people ask me, where do you get your covers from? And I like being able to say different designers, you know, because like hopefully it gets them business.
Do you think is a goal for you to become a full-time writer, or do you think you would go crazy doing that full-time?
I don't know. No, thank you. No. I mean, it would be nice because that would be like steady income. I could make my own hours. But as we previously discussed, I'm awake at 3 a.m. anyway. So it's not like it would be, no, that's okay. Especially not with my characters. That's all right. Thank you.
Keep the balance. We'll keep a steady balance of flow.
Well, I mean, and for a perfect example, when I wrote Bones, I wrote that in 2016, and I wrote that story because my sister was like, I want a book boyfriend, so write me one. So I did it for her birthday. And if I get into the head of a character like that, that book gave me insomnia while I was writing it. It's the only time I've ever had insomnia in my life, and it ended when I finished that book.
Wow.
So if these are the kind of characters walking around in my head, I can't do this full time.
There is no really in between or break for you because this is what you enjoy writing. But do you need to take a break sometimes?
I feel like I don't have a choice. You know, because it's like no matter how sweet I try to make something, like eventually I just read it and I'm like, this is not me. So we're going to scrap this and start over. Like if I do that, it's basically for myself just to be able to get something out. So I'm not like constantly in murder mode.
No.
But then like I just kick right back into being me.
Into murder mode.
Yeah, then I go right back into murder mode. Yeah. Like honestly, The Lies Between Us is like, when people are like, I can't do dark, I'm like, go to The Lies Between Us. You'll be fine there. Like, you're going to cry your eyes out at the end, but you'll be fine there. But I don't do that very often because that came out in 2018 and we're in 2021 now.
Yeah. At least I know
So
where I should start because I've always been apprehensive about picking up one of your books. I think you already know this because I'm like, oh no, I get scared so easily. So
yeah.
I will start with that book then. That could
Yeah,
be.
no, The Lies Between Us, you'll be fine. You're gonna cry at the end, but you'll be fine. It's not like Yolanda murder mode.
Oh, okay, safe zone. There is a safe zone, people, somewhere. What is then for you your greatest goal? What's the dream that you're chasing for your career?
I don't have long-term goals. I just go by whatever's happening. I know most people are like, I would love to like sign on with, one of the big six or this, that, and the other thing. I just want to finish the book that I'm working on. That's my goal for now. Like, that's just how I work.
Speaking to some authors who have that kind of focus, I find it usually the ones that are doing really, really well in their career because they're so focused on just bringing out the next book and the next book. And at the end of the day, that's what the readers are after. They're after the next book. And so a lot of people get really scattered or confused or overwhelmed with all the different marketing you can do.
Mm.
But when you're just honing in on next book, next book, next book, which you do because you have so many releases coming up this year, I think that actually is one of the magic formulas.
Depends on your genre. I'm kind of a like island unto myself when it comes to things like that. Because there are like genres that I could write but make them my own.
Yeah.
But I don't want to do that because then I would feel like I'm not being me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm always just like, write what you want to write. Either people will read it or they won't. But you never know unless you put it out.
Who is your inspiration? As like authors, who inspired you before you started writing yourself? Did you read these kind of genres?
I don't read what I write, no.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't read what I write. When I was a kid, my favorite authors were R.L. Stine, and this is going to sound insane, but Francine Pascal, Sweet Valley Twins and Friends. Yep. So it was Goosebumps, Fear Street, and Sweet Valley Twins.
What do you read now? Like when you do have time to read, what genres do you read?
Historical romance, actually. Ellie Midwood is one of my favorite historical romance authors. She's an indie, so I read a lot of like she releases quite a few books, so I read her stuff. And then Bryce Calderwood is another one of my favorite indies. He writes erotic books, but he writes about feudanaries. Do you know what those are?
No.
Feudas? Can I explain that right now?
Yes, yeah, of course you can.
Okay. So feudas are basically like they're females, but they have both sex organs, but like they're super like over exaggerated sex organs. And I know it sounds crazy. And the first time he took over one of my parties, I was like, what is going on right now? But then I started reading his books, and his books are the kinds that like, and this is how Ellie is too. Like, I like when I read a book and the way the author writes it, I can see it as I'm reading it. So even though it's two very separate genres, I can see their books as I'm writing them, But honestly, like, I like recommending him because his books really are like super well written.
What books do you have coming up? I know you have heaps of releases coming out this year, so can you tell me what's on the dinner plate?
So I'm writing my Sicarios of Novelado series, so I can I'm trying to finish them and so I can release them like back to back. So something about me that most people probably won't be surprised about is that I am in a lot of like death groups and like murder groups and stuff. So I see a lot of real death videos, and for the longest time I've been like very interested in like drug cartels, and like Pablo Escobar has always been a favorite of mine because he was just like this cocky bastard, and he was just so great. So I've always been interested in like cartels, and then one day I was like, I should do a cartel series, but I should do it through my eyes because I've seen the deaths, like the real ones, and I can use this. So I actually ran the idea by my mother, and I was like, tell me somebody's name in your family. So she told me my great-grandfather's name. And I was like, huh. So what I ended up doing was I took his name. So it's 3 names basically. I took one of the names out and I rearranged his name to make him the cartel boss in my series.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I actually ended up getting stickers the other day that say Gancio Cartel on them. And I gave her one. She was so excited. She looked at my knee. She was like, look, it's my grandfather. I almost cried because it was adorable, She was like, that's amazing. It's my grandfather.
That's
so yeah, I got a little cartel series coming. I'm working on my freak show book. This time I will be Lobster Boy.
So do you
So
want,
that's
what's the series behind, what's this book about?
Savage. So this is the Carnaval de la Mort. So basically what we did last year is what we're doing this year. It's a traveling group of freaks. The last one was in Santa Monica. This one is in Coney Island. And basically it's 7 different freaks. We've got, let's see, Lobster Boy, we've got Rubber Man, we've got a Hot and Not Venus, Wolf Girl, the Five-Eyed Woman, and Albino Giantess. So the 7 of us basically write our freaks in this carnival and around the same place, but give them their own little like stories and stuff. We've got Stalkers coming out in a couple weeks. The Stalkers anthology. That one's going to be fun. We've got a lot of really good authors for that. So I'm really excited for people to read that. What I did, okay, so I'm going to give you a little insight. I'm going to give you a little scoop right now.
I'm ready.
So, you know how I was talking about my crazy girl and Nefarious?
Yeah.
My story for Stalkers is her little sister. And nobody outside of my like beta and alpha group knew that. But now you do. So you just got some gossip. Yeah. So I wrote her sister for this one. And then we've got Outlaws coming out after that, which is all about like in-laws.
Do you ever have a holiday? Okay.
No. Nope. Even if like I take a day off of work because I'm sick, like I'll get out of bed and for like at least 2 hours I'll do something. I have to write on something, you know what I mean? So it's like I don't get a break. Although last October I went somewhere for like a week with one of my friends and I left my laptop home on purpose. I was like, I'm not gonna write anything. So then, you know, we're in Tennessee and all of a sudden she just sees me like this because I'm typing on my memo on my phone because like these characters started talking. I was like, all right, hold on, don't worry, I will let you go. So I'm like literally spent most of the time just tapping in my memo. So I'm like, I should have just brought my damn laptop.
Yeah, just to get it out. But that's good to have as a writer, writing every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are you okay?
Characters, but yeah.
So I've started a new segment called Speed Dating with an Author. So you and I are going to go on a little speed date, and it's basically just 5 rapid, quick questions. So my first one on our very romantic, I've got a candle lit back here. We've got a candle. I'm in a set of mood. What's the most bizarre pickup line you've ever heard?
I don't go outside to hear them. So, yeah. And I don't socialize, so.
What about in a movie or one that you might have put in your own book or?
All right, so listen, I gave one. Okay. I have to talk about my buddy Cole because I love messing with him, Cole Denton. So Abigail Davis posted this meme in his group, totally inappropriate meme. It was hilarious. I laughed really hard. So it was basically like, it said something like, it was this crazy looking foot. And it said something like, when you drop acid in your cum sock starts following you around the room. So we were in there, we're just like messing with him or whatever. And then I left a comment and I was like, that could be an amazing pickup line. Do you want to be my little cum sock tonight? So bam, there we go.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I was like, I should probably toss that in a book somewhere. That could be really useful.
And now you've thrown it at me on our date.
Yeah, there we go.
If you could describe yourself in 3 words, what would they be?
Awkward, shy, angry.
That was the question I had before. How do you find, so building your confidence as an author, because I do know that you are quite a shy person.
Mm-hmm.
How did you find you went with building your confidence over time as an author, like putting yourself at signings and events and stuff like that? How did you build the confidence to put yourself out there?
So I don't know if you saw me when I walked into the New York event. Like I always have my sunglasses still on when I'm inside because I don't like to make eye contact right away because it makes me a little anxious. So I usually just walk in with whoever's with me, make a beeline for my table, and I'm like, okay. And then we just unpack everything. And then I just start getting like really nervous. So I always ask to be by a door because I get really bad social anxiety. But then like after my first event, when people actually started walking up to my table and like wanted to talk to me, I was like, okay, I can do this if people like genuinely want to like are excited to be like, oh hey, you're Yolanda. Like I had someone walk up to my table one time crying because I was there, and I was like, and I'm not a hugging person, and I got up and I walked around the table and I hugged her. I was like, no, I'm sorry, like don't cry, please don't cry, especially not over me.
Nothing that I made
Honestly, yeah, it's like I tell my readers all the time, even if you're like the only one person that wants me to go to an event in like freaking Saudi Arabia, I'll go to Saudi Arabia just for you because you wanted me to go.
What song best describes you?
Probably Gasoline by Butcher Babies. It's called C8H18, but it's gasoline. That's the formula for gasoline.
I don't know if I've heard that song, actually. I'm going to Google it after this.
Yeah, I hope you like loud music, because it's loud, but if you listen to the lyrics, like, that's why I think that one describes me best. Like, that would be my song.
Okay. Exciting. Yeah. What's your life motto?
Okay, hold on, I wasn't expecting that. My life motto, be kind to animals. I will never trust a person that is not kind to animals.
Serious, have you written much in your books that goes into animal cruelty?
Yes. Yeah. But I will, like, in real life, okay, good example. One time I was walking, this was a couple years ago, I was walking down the street from the corner store with my niece, and this lady had her dog across the street, and the dog was like laying down, and she's like standing over it, like leaning over it, and I'm like, oh my God. So I said to her, is your dog okay? And she's like, yeah, he just needs water. I said, okay, I'll be right back. And we ran into the house, we got a bowl of water, ran right back out there to give him water. And she was like, do you want the bowl? I was like, no, you can keep it. Does he need any more water? And she was like, no, he'll be okay now. I'm like, okay, cool. And then we went inside. Like, I will literally give my entire whatever I have to be able to make sure an animal's okay. So, like, be nice to animals, because I don't understand how somebody could be cruel to an animal.
I love that. I'm like, yeah.
Like, there's this shirt that I want that says, be kind to animals or I'll kill you, because that's me.
Honestly, it is. Like, you're like, trust me, I have millions of creative ways.
Yeah, I can make you disappear.
Well, I'm curious, actually, when you are writing, like, a lot of different murder scenes are very, scenes, where do you get most of your inspiration from? Does it kind of just spring straight from the character and imagination, or do you take inspiration from other places as well?
No, actually, it just springs out.
Okay.
Yeah, it just springs out. Like, for example, there's a couple of things that I did in Nefarious that when I was done with them, that's why I was like, I need to bleach my brain because I don't know what's going on in there anymore. What
is a unique talent or skill set that you have that not many people know about?
I was going to say the serial killer thing, but everybody knows that.
Well, yeah.
Honestly, I think that would be the only thing if I'm being, like, legit. I can straight up any serial killer.
Do you watch a lot of, like, serial killer documentaries and stuff like that?
Mm-hmm.
Do you listen to, like, the podcasts and just, like...
No, I don't like podcasts. So what I do at nighttime before I go to sleep is I watch Investigation Discovery. I don't know if you have that. It's a true crime channel.
I haven't seen it.
And while I'm listening to that, I'll be reading about, like, missing persons, true crime, unsolved mysteries on my phone at the same time as that's going.
And you can actually focus on both of those?
Mm-hmm.
Who are you?
I don't know.
That skill. Damn. Do you imagine how much information you absorb doing that?
The funny thing is, normally I can't multitask, but I can when it comes to that.
All the information about serial
killers. Yeah, I'm like, oh, look at all these murders and unsolved mysteries and all these crimes. Oh, this is great.
Well, that was a fantastic date. I'm pretty certain that if this were a real date, I'd end up murdered by the end of it in such a creative way, which I appreciate. But that's all my questions. I've had such a blast today. Thank you so much for hopping on. Yeah,
this was fun. I love this. I'm glad we got to do it. I hope it didn't scare anyone.
I think it scared many people, but I think that's your forte, so it's fine. Thank you so much for hopping on, and I'll talk to you later.
All right, bye.
Bye.